shade into the land than the movie had. And so that's was one of the challenges, to sort of still, not all of a sudden they could feel like that it's, Radiator Springs has been put into a different climate, but to have shade, but to still feel exactly like the sort of the Southwest climate that Radiator Springs is in.
Some of the another front yard we played with was Sarge's. Sarge's is very crisp lawn, flat top shrubs, so we thought maybe we'd take another level and add a tree. And you'll see in the inset picture, this is an olive that was salvaged from the Disneyland Hotel renovation. And currently Disneyland Horticulture is grooming it for its debut.
In a military haircut.
Nice and sharp. In that study for placing shade trees, these didn't appear in the film, so we had to start looking at how would we visualize these. We played with artwork, we looked at 3D modeling, and we took original actual images of specimens and photoshopped them into the model views. Flows is very stylish and swell, and we took Palm Springs as our inspiration for a very modern hip plant palette with Mexican blue palms, Palo Verde, desert spoon, blue agave, and silver torch cactus. Lots of texture. Luigi's doesn't really have a front yard, but we imagined its backyard to be an Italian garden tribute to tires. And here on the left is my inspiration image. The center image is the planters that are carved like tires, and they'll be alternately planted with olives and Italian cypress. We have the I call them tire poodle topiary, and that'll be featured as a garden. And now to build a desert in Anaheim, yes, we had a lot of research to do. The climate isn't quite desert, but we went through lists of Southwest desert natives, California natives, and similar species. And along the way to buying almost 500 trees and cactus specimens, you find yourself in some very interesting places. This is in northern LA County, so it's not too far, but it's an amazing collection of cactus and found art, amazing tool collection. And some of the folks that helped us, the tree broker on the left, some vendors who've been in the business for a long time, and everybody comes to this family, cactus. And somebody you may recognize on the right, made out of horseshoes. So you'll see the inset picture is Sally and Lightning going on their drive to Oregon Valley, and trying to find the right conifer was challenging, but we found one that looks pretty dead on.
Isn't that amazing?
So this is the start of the racers, which we call road trip. And our last marching order from John was to find a collection of curiosities for Stanley's Oasis. And yeah.
So Pixar actually has a theme parks division, believe it or not, that works very closely with Imagineering. And this next gentleman has worked with Pixar for a long time, and he's done all kinds of work for them. If you've seen My Sweet Car, he was the co-director of that. And I recommend you listen to the director's commentary on that. So when you go home, watch your DVDs. Most insightful commentary I've ever heard in my life. So you'll have to wait for that. But to tell us a little bit more about the audio animatronics and other aspects of Radiator's integration, we have Roger Gould from Pixar Animation Studios.
Imagineering is so fun, because we get to do what John talks about as the goal for every one of our films. That our film should be so coherent, should be so believable, that when you finish watching the movie, you believe that the characters in the world live beyond the boundaries of the film. And that's what we're doing here. We get to literally bring the film out of their world and into our world. One of the challenges, this is true on every attraction we do, is figure out where are we in time of the story. Because Cars is a world that evolves, and it has in Cars too. And so we said, well, when we're in Radiator Springs Racers, we want to be with the town, we want the feeling of the first film. Second film wasn't designed yet. We wanted to be in the first film, and so we wanted to see that rough skis, lightning McQueen. And so we also wanted Doc to be our crew chief. And knowing that he passed on by the second film, that placed us in what we call Cars 1.5. Out in the land, you're going to actually get to meet with modern Lightning McQueen, Cars 2 Lightning McQueen, which is World Grand Prix styling. So out in the land, we're in a post-Cars 2 world. Cars 2 world is going to continue to evolve and grow, so that'll keep going as well. So what we had to do in so many places in the land, and the attractive variable, how do we expand the world? Flows, a right place for food, but we found right away, well, when you have seating, there's no room inside. So we actually ended up designing an expansion of flows, so there would be plenty of indoor room. And what was really great was John said, okay, that's fantastic. Wait, so that's at the end of the first movie, the town survived, the Lightning would move there, and they've got a lot of new customers, so sure, flow would expand. In fact, these are pictures from the Cars 2 model, because John thought, well, let's put that in the Cars 2 movie, because that's in that same time period. So it was fun that Imagineering design actually ended up in the film. Inside flows, well, what's your story? And so we created this fantastic story of, you probably didn't know that she was part of a girl group in the 50s and 60s. And there were a lot of ways.
She was a true show car.
Yeah. And she had hit records, and actually you get to see some of those album covers and some of those song titles, and it's really fantastic. We also knew that we needed to go into Ramon and see Ramon at work, because in Raiders Cruise Racers, as John said, we can get a fresh paint job. So if you want to know who Ramon is, you just need to go to Capusa's shop. So we went down there for research, and it was fantastic. And he pointed out that he uses a green tape, which he didn't even really think much about, but he says there's a big market in South America where they see his show, and there's a big market for green tape. So we designed Ramon's shop, and we designed his control booth where he's actually going to control the system, and still kind of backed up with the green tape. And so we designed this for Radiator Springs Racers, and then John worked in the scene in the film, Cars 2, where you needed to see Ramon's shop, and so that same fantastic color system ended up in the movie, and it's so good. It's the best in the world. In fact, it's the world of color. Now, when you're going through the Luigi's on your way to ride the flying tires, we wanted to populate that with all the memorabilia of his life and his story. So we have beautiful old photos of Uncle and Mama Topolino from Italy. He even has a personal blessing from the Pope. So we really couldn't feel absolutely at home when we were there. John always talks about research, and on Cars film, they had gone out on Route 66 and said, that's great, we're going to build Carsland, you can go out on a road trip. So we contacted Michael Wallace, who literally wrote the book, Route 66, The Mother Road, that really led to modern interest in Route 66. And we went out on a fantastic road trip, starting
He also did the voice of the sheriff in Cars.
Oh my God, he has the most incredible voice.
He's a great storyteller.
Yeah, and so he's telling you about, this is the last brick that was laid here in 1942. But then also when he's like, this is the last restroom before we go out, everything seems really good. This is amazing. And every one of these companies say, are you frightened?
That's not a picture, because people are pointing something out, and not one of us is looking at it.
So when we're out, and one of the questions we had was, where are we going to load this huge Radiator Springs Racers attraction? Because it can't be in the town. We at one point we can talk about the courthouse.
Well, the original idea was it was up more in the town to load and unload, and there was the track. There was issues with the track and stuff, and they needed the track to be moved back closer to the show building.
Yeah.
And so that was like, oh, well, what are we gonna do? This doesn't make sense. And I actually encourage the team to, you know, let's think beyond what you only see in the movie. We can start showing other stuff. Because I always view that the world is much bigger than just what you see in the movie.
And that's what's so great. We got to this yellow forest, and we saw these two huge caves. Like, that's funny. That kind of looks like load and unload. But they're renaming that town load and unload. But we said, well, that's fine. But why are we there? Why would anyone go out there? I said, well, Stanley founded the town. We know that because there's a great founder statue. We know that he was a couple with Lizzie. But what's the story? So we started delving into, well, where did this come from? Well, there must have been the Radiator Spring, that original bubbling water out in the desert that Stanley found. And so we're building it, and coincidentally, it looks like the front of a car with a radiator cap, and the water will be bubbling out of the radiator cap. And we said, well, Stanley must have been going across the desert, and he found that water, down to his last drop. He was so happy. And being kind of a salesman, a radiator cap salesman, he decided that he should sort of lay down streets. We've seen so many cool old buildings, and even remnants of old buildings out on our field trip. We said, okay, well, he had that water, and he said, okay, this is kind of like his wall grub gag, free water. So come on, get your nature's no fooling cooling, and come in and get your free water at Stanley's Oasis. And while you're there, of course, you'll have, you know, probably top the radiator cap, so you go to Stanley's cabin cap and get a new radiator cap, and he's got everything tomorrow. And if he doesn't have it, it's free.
And this was, you know, when we were thinking about, as we were developing the first movie, we came up with a whole backstory of the town, that Stanley was, the entire car was coming across the country, you know, and found this spring, and he decided that he saw other cars coming by, and the desert was so hot that they kept blowing their radiator caps, and so he just decided to stay there and sell.
It's a deleted scene from the first movie. I mean, we didn't just invent that. But no, it was a deleted scene from the first film where they actually.
So I dug it up and showed it to everybody, and then in fact, there was an early drawing of his tapping at the shack that had this radiator. Because that's one of the things that you find on Route 66 is that every building is built like a gimmick to get you to stop. You know, and that's what we wanted to try to put into this.
So you're going to be turning a little bit into a snake oil salesman too, because at the original Springs, Nature's Coolment, that billboard that you had up there had stuff like, you know, eliminates rust, turns back the odometer, and you know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so it's great. And in fact, his Oasis grew, so you're going to see a variety of buildings in very different styles, including the Pumpkin Cavern Motor Court. So, you know, you could stay in a cave. So it's been really fun creating and expanding this world.
Very rich detail. So as you're in the queue area, there's going to be lots and lots of to look at that history.
Yeah. So obviously one of the most important things in bringing the main attraction to life is bringing the cars themselves to life. And of course we knew we would have Mater and the Queen in there, but you know, John likes to say sometimes more is more. And so we're going to have, you know, the entire town, or like you saw Red downstairs, and you know, they are all going to be at that level of beauty, and they're big. What's really fantastic is because these characters all exist visually, we have fantastic 3D data of all of these. And so we're actually now have an amazing working partnership with the Imagineering Model Shop, where we literally give them 3D data, and then they actually can mill that out. This is driven by a computer taking huge blocks of foam, and it's literally like a sculptor carving away, carves away to leave just the data. And so these are exactly on-model characters from the film brought to full-scale life, and it's just been so